Well, it's my great pleasure today to have some very special guests with us here at the Muzo showroom, albeit virtually. And who should you have on as guests when there's all this doom and gloom in the world and, you know, lots of, I kind of guess, anxious times about the future? Well, the best people I could think of to call upon are Peter and Sharon Exley, from the best named architecture practice in the world, in my opinion anyway. Architecture is fun. So I was going to say a big Chicago welcome, but you're also in Chicago, just the other end, guys. Anyway, big Chicago welcome to Peter and Sharon Exley. Now, normally you'd have a big round of applause at that point. So welcome, Peter and Sharon. We've got some great questions for you today, and I'll kick off with the first one. I'm sure everybody's already sort of wanting to ask this question, is listening. So architecture is fun is a really unusual name for a business. We're all dying to know, how did you arrive at the name?
So our name reflects our culture and our values. It reflects our commitment to participatory process in design and a desire for meaningful experience engagement as part on the part of our clients. Who are making a significant capital investment and deserve an inclusive, rewarding experience and outcome. And it reflects a collective rather than an individual attitude. And for us, it's our daily mantra. It's architecture is fun is something we try to live up to. We try to live up to our name.
Yeah, it's a great name. Were there any arguments as you know, was it a collaboration? How did you decide in the end?
Well,
on the name?
You know, initially, the state of Illinois or wherever you're practicing has your name on your license, but that wasn't really reflecting or articulating what we were doing in our practice. Right. And, you know, for our clients, they make a big investment in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's important that it's fun for them. It's sort of a contractual arrangement too.
Right.
So it starts off, it's a good icebreaker, but it's got meaning for our process.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly in this day and age, you know, buildings should be fun, shouldn't they? You should want to go to school. You should want to go to a museum, etc. And there should be fun places to visit. So, anyway, congrats on the name. I guess I'm a fan of the name.
Thank you.
So the second question that I've got written here is, why make such a sort of singular commitment that you guys have to designing for young people?
In the beginning of the firm, a little while ago, we really felt like children needed advocates, and that we can contribute to that advocacy by creating the places and spaces that help them tell their stories, build their identities, and give them ownership over the spaces and places that they use. I'll let you.
Yeah, and the founding of our firm coincided with actually owning a small person ourselves. So, you know, that in her formative years, we were hanging out at places that she enjoyed and where she felt valued. And those places became our friends, really. And I mean, literally the places did, but also the people that were there. And then those friends became our clients and, you know, then collaborators and our ambassadors. So our first project, which was for Chicago Children's Museum, snowballed into that commitment, and I suppose a specialty and a niche.
I'll take that, but then designing for play isn't just about children, because we think, especially now, adults, university students need play in their lives more and more, and it's a universal human right, and it can be the domain of adulthood and childhood, and we help facilitate engaging public spaces for grown-ups, for the teenager, for the child, sometimes for the family or the community. And children rarely travel alone, so the places we make for them have to engage adults as well. So it's important that everyone plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I would wholeheartedly endorse that. And as a father of four myself, I hear where you're coming from, because those great experiences with your children, they kind of shape your life. And so, where you visit and why you visit, and the surroundings you find yourselves in, they're part of lifelong learning for me. Experiences that take you forward, don't they?
If you've ever been in a family, you think about those experiences you have with your kids, and we're in the business, I suppose, of making places where people make memories, and that, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
No,
He said it should be fun.
You said it all.
It should be fun.
On a daily basis.
So I guess moving on then, my next question to you guys is, how can architects help educators create better places for the teaching and learning process?
I think we've all heard a lot of people talking about the third teacher, which is the environment, but reflecting curricula into the space, or the foundations of an institution into the interiors, creates a place, especially public spaces, that are interconnected with the learning and the teaching that go on. And I'm going to let Peter share a story about Latin school, where I think we demonstrated that.
Yeah, we worked on a project for a high school here in Chicago, the Latin School of Chicago. They needed a new science department, and it was about a $10 million project, and the value that was embedded in each classroom was about $2 million. So that ultimately ended up in about 5 or 6 classrooms. Well, we figured out a way in that project to create an extra classroom, one more than they'd expected. It was like buy 5, get 1 free. And we did that by translating the spaces in between all of the classrooms, which would ordinarily be sort of corridors and just open interstitial space. We created a new classroom in there. It also became a really amazing social space. It was just very dynamic. And it turned into a classroom because everybody wanted to be in there. And the curriculum was evident in elements, say, of the flooring, of the furniture. There were artifacts and objects that supported what the teachers were talking about. The really amazing story, getting 1 classroom free is pretty cool. But 27% more girls signed up for AP Science projects as a result of being attracted and recruited by this space. And then test scores went up over 35% the following year, which is an amazing payback for a space. And that's the difference between getting into a college and getting into your first choice college, or getting in on a scholarship or a free ride. So by embedding and being really conscious of the needs of the teachers and the curriculum in the way we approached space, and making the space seem relevant to them, really paid dividends for them. And that's a real showpiece for that school now.
It also really brought art and science together. And so it's really an amazing, I Spy, but really cool space that apparently the teachers like to take over for their meetings and little events, and it's used for recruitment, as Peter said. And it's just a super beautiful space. We worked with a lot of artists on it as well.
Yeah. And you apply these sorts of strategies into your thinking for how you can make safer schools. schools that can support healthy living and positive mental health, not through barricades and oppressive, over-visible security, but through design nuance. And as Sharon says, by doing things artfully and doing things that make the students and the faculty feel as though that this is their place, they have ownership of it. Then you start to remove the stress from these spaces, which, there's a lot going on in them.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
that's part of our strategy.
Yeah, that really works for me. So the impact really interests me, and that you've got some kind of measurement, because great design is sometimes you can win awards for making something look beautiful, but I think in this case what you're saying is you're taking the client's brief, I guess, and then you've gone beyond it and exceeded their expectations, and by putting that extra thought and detail and kind of a no fear of how you address the project, you've come out with some wonderful impact and improved lives because of it. Would you say?
Yeah. I think the last thing I would say is I think that engaging the students in the public space made maybe remove barriers of the stigma of science study.
Right.
And it got them it got students who would ordinarily be interested in science intrigued by what was around them and excited by it. And I think that removes a barrier. It makes science more interconnected with everything and your everyday life, and it makes science more attractive to students and more accessible.
Yeah, I would emphasize the accessibility. And in a time where accessibility, inclusion, and equity are at the forefront of our conversations, nothing could be more important, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's these places that are invitational and are welcoming, and as you point out, aren't just beautiful, but not everybody has a design sensibility or a care for that, but they have a care for personal growth and success and finding something that's relevant to them. And if that space precipitates success for you in your life, helps you get into the college you want to get into, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I think this is all really relevant to our viewers, Muzo customers. I think what you're saying, Peter, is we can clearly demonstrate how space can impact people's lives. Bringing the girls into science, as you say, making them feel welcome and part of science. So that's a real great story, and I hope if anybody's got any questions, perhaps you could drop us a line later, and we'll put you in touch with Peter and Sharon. I'm sure you guys would be delighted to ask answer any questions from
absolutely
people that, right now that need guidance, I guess, with there's so much going on, isn't there, with the particularly return to schools.
Can we chat about that for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. This is a very informal conversation. Go ahead.
I mean, we're at a time right now that sort of seems to be forcing some people to envision a new normal, and that new normal for some people seems dominated by plexiglass shields and floor decals. But the true success for this is to be, or in this time in design, is going to be looking at more creative solutions. For sure, physical distance is critical, and this is what we're doing right now. But we should not be creating those spaces that are utterly dominant or dominated by those plexi shields. We still need to be inspiring creativity, albeit a little bit further apart. And it could be that part of that is adapting our classrooms, but it's also adapting our homes so that we can work next to mom and dad doing our schoolwork, and create some synergies and experiences that are also going to be rewarded. And again, we need to sort of take a creative stance with that.
And I think furnishings too, I mean, we haven't talked about it too much, but the flexibility of some furnishings to do more than one thing so that they can go out into the hallway and activate a new space out in the hallway and energize another area so that you can distance in a different way beyond decals and circles drawn on the floor. But to use some inherently flexible furnishings and tools to help you do that, it can be very successful.
Yeah, and I guess things are going to change, aren't they? So without any flexibility, it's difficult to make any changes. I just going back to the point about plexiglass screens. My own take on it is there are mental health issues potentially could be caused by putting children into boxes. We're all different. We all react to the environment differently. Sometimes, some children might like to work near a window for the brighter lights. Another child might want to be in a slightly, dimmer part of the room. And so we've got to take into account there's all kinds of kids, and putting them into plastic bubbles can sometimes create a feeling of fear about the coronavirus. So there's definitely a balance there. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got another question for you here on a little list. What do you see as the major challenges in design and society today overall?
We've talked about COVID-19. That's a sort of singular challenge and a moment that we're in. But the climate crisis and issues of equity and justice, they're not singular. That's a really sort of universal challenge. They're heightened right now in this time of COVID-19. At the intersection of those two challenges, sort of climate crisis and equity, if you think about that as a Venn diagram, there's a huge overlap. And, that overlap is a really profound challenge, the inequities in certain communities. And if there's sort of a silver lining to that intersection, it's a really natural place for designers to find themselves in. As designers, we can address climate crisis, and we can work to help build more resilient communities. And community is where, architects, like us and our designer colleagues, that's our natural habitat. We're working with communities to solve the day-to-day things that are issues for them. Whether it's some climate event, and today when we're speaking, there's an enormous climate event going on in the Gulf and southern United States. But these things are happening all the time. And we should all be working to sort of elevate and react through design and through the building of better communities.
Peter's, these are like amazing and really, global issues on all fronts. But one of our first project was Kids on the Fly at O'Hare International Airport. Bits of it is still there. But we had a lot of arguments or discussions and challenges with the project, and we're working with the city and working with the airport and working with the Children's Museum and building an exhibit that was accessible to travelers in that space. And we were designing a plane that you could go in, and we wanted the plane to be accessible. And we thought, if you just have a ramp and that goes through the back, or it's not the same. So the ramp to us had to be fun for everyone to enter the plane the same way, through the front, to be the pilot, to pilot the plane, and to make that accessible. And I think that's very simplistic, but that's the way that we've dealt with everything. It has to be the best, most fun way to create accessible, engaging experiences for everyone. And the other story is finishing a project on a university campus where the museum got a grant for a family space. But what we did was not make it look like a children's space, but make it look like it was just interesting that you could play with art and you could connect to the museum. And before we opened, there were university students trying to come in, and they'd just come in on their lunch hour and sit down while we were putting the final touches on and play with things. And I think that's what you do, is you get rid of barriers.
Well, that's access and that's equity building.
Yeah.
And it just needs to be the way we approach everything.
Everything.
And it all starts at a community level. Yes, these are global issues, and for sure we need the intervention of our leaders to help us. But the solutions really happen from a grassroots level, and that's working with your school board, with your school district, with the teacher. It's allowing kids to be part of the design process and have a say in what they want and what they relate to.
Yeah.
Teens and university students especially, they need a voice in helping design their spaces. We would see a change.
Sure, absolutely.
It's not something that always happens. And when you ask people who use the space to be part of it, they're like, who, me?
Yes.
Sure, I'd love that. And that's how you get them invested in the project.
The engagement.
That's how you make profound discoveries about what they want and what will contribute to the success and value and measurement of success. That return on investment that we alluded to, with more kids getting higher test scores.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you. And my own son, by the way, questions why he isn't asked about safe return to school and what he wants, which is a shame. So I hope, the listeners out there, the viewers or our customers can help, create that atmosphere where we trust our children and, to make great decisions and empower them to get involved in creating the spaces that work for them.
We often say that kids, and this is not glib at all, but kids are really smart.
Yeah.
And
too smart in my case.
They're going to do better on that math test than you and I.
Yes.
And they've got really good ideas, and we need to listen to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is why we get on so well with you guys, because we're on the same page. We're obviously trying to develop furniture that empowers children and adults to create their own environments with flexibility. And I believe at the moment there's never been a more important time for a child to want to go to school. There are children that don't want to go to school because they still are back in the dark ages with the way they're designed, or the tables are lined up, straight lines, etc. So it's never been a more important time to look at the design, the way you design environments as they're for.
I think really great things are going to come out of this. Once we get beyond, just some of these barriers and simple solutions that we think are going to counter, transmission of aerosol. There's got to be more to it than
yes. Yeah, I think it frustrates me, and anybody that reads my blogs will know how frustrated I get. I apologize for perhaps the amount of frustration that comes across, but the industry, the furniture industry particularly, is very guilty of just, crowding the market with plastic screens like right now, and not much more. So we need to get back to the exciting sort of side of learning environments now, that could be more flexible and cater for children for the next 30 years as well, not the next 2 or whatever, because that's funds. Money's important to everybody, and how you spend it. I wish we could all think about it a little bit more intelligently sometimes. Every dollar we spend, particularly in a school, is precious. So if money's short, we need to invest in the future, don't we?
Yeah, and we do have a tendency, to take these investments last a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
A dollar spent on plexiglass, today is a dollar taken away from the thing that, it could have lasted even longer than that.
Yeah. I'm going to go off my list for a second here. That's maybe not good. That's maybe not great news for me because I go all over the place. And but anyway, I'll try and keep it on track best I can. But I guess how we got to know each other is socially. But when we did get to know each other, what I was really most interested in what you do, you guys at Architecture for Fun, is the work with sort of sensory environments and design for all and inclusive design. So could you tell us a little bit about the furniture that you designed as part of those projects?
I think when we haven't found exactly what we needed, we started to design some bits of furniture, and there's a happy face stool, and just the idea behind it being happy, and that there are these characters cut into it, and also the BFFs, which are the pets that are also cut into it, and it's just a very simple flat pack stool that kids can even assemble probably, and it's not the smallest, but it's more generic height so that even a parent can sit on it. And I think when kids see these, they recognize it's for them, and they sort of gravitate to them, and they like them. And this is for the younger age, but I think parents have also used them. You want to take it?
Yeah. Okay. There's a tendency, I think, just to scale things up and down for children. So just a regular chair made smaller. This is not something that you do at Muzo, but we recognized early on that the chair that you need perhaps in a children's library is actually a bigger one, not a smaller one, because you want a parent and a child to sit together and read in that chair.
That's a chair and a half that we came up with.
That's great thinking. That's marvelous. Yeah, that's marvelous. And
sure, you need things closer to the floor sometimes, but you also then, it depends what the scenario is, and enabling adults and children to have choices in their environment, to snuggle up in a nook, as you say, or to get close to a parent, to feel more comfortable, not to be separated from the experience that they're trying to have, but just to find a level of comfort is really critical. And sometimes we use visual tools for that. Sharon talks about the happy face stools, which are very iconic and friendly, invitational, and easy to pick up. But it can also be something oversized and really magnificent that is just screaming to me, hey, come and be the king of the castle on this, or come and be in charge and feel empowered.
Yeah.
And have a perspective that perhaps, just sitting on a regular chair doesn't give you.
Yes.
And, so that accessibility, that it is sensorial, it gives you an opportunity that is not in a day-to-day experience with a day-to-day piece of furniture.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I'm learning something as usual. I always learn something listening to you guys, by the way, which is why I enjoy so much these kind of conversations. So I hope everybody else watching the show is also learning something great. That's great. Okay, so I'll get back on track with my little questions here. What we want to know, I guess, is what you guys do for fun. There's a lot of talk about fun and stuff. So, what do you guys like to do for fun?
Well,
We should know the answer to this immediately.
well, I
shouldn't we?
think some of these are separate.
No pressure.
activities. I shop and collect artist skateboards, and I have a lot of them. Some that Peter doesn't know about, but I like to collect skateboards. I've been doing it since, well, I don't know, a long time. When skateboards just started, you heard about like Supreme doing these releases. When they did the releases with artists, and I started to kind of collect them, and have had some artists make some skateboards for us as commission, or artists we've worked with on projects.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we're very immersed in.
Do you have one there? I'm dying to see one now.
Yeah. Sharon will go get one.
I know this is what they do on real TV, but there are no rules here. Just
No, there are over 100 probably.
Well, if we tilt a little bit here, I think there's a couple right
oh,
there.
wow. Oh, that's
They're
great.
sort of all over the.
And if we tilt that way, I think there's probably a couple, well, there's one or two up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I used to ride a little bit when I was a teenager, so it's sort of a double passion. It's
a lot of what we do for fun relates to art and creativity. I'm a teacher, a professor at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. That's also where Sharon went to school and got her undergraduate and graduate degree. So we're very immersed in the world of art. We love going to museums. We do have lots of collections. And I think, I don't know that everybody admits it, but, we get a lot of pleasure from the things that we did in childhood. So, Darren, you and I connected through our love of one particular English football team.
And we promised we wouldn't talk about that because that's all I want to talk about. Just so everybody knows, real quick, we're both passionate Leeds United supporters, and Leeds United will be on everybody's radar soon. I promise you.
Yeah. We love music, and we're big music fans.
We like to produce Pachakacha Night, which we do.
So there's a lot of things in the realm of creativity, and a lot of things that we formed a love and passion for in childhood that remain. And I think there's a spirit in that keeps us feeling even younger than we look. And
you guys look great.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
I think they're wonderful. That's a wonderful background on the two of you, really, and it's wonderful because I think art and creativity can provide inspiration to the next generation of architects and designers, and there are no rules, are there?
I think follow your passions and find purpose in the things that you love.
Yeah.
We love to mentor as well.
Yeah.
I mentor a lot of young women designers and architects, and Peter mentors all the time. And I think we get as much out of it. It's a mutual thing. It helps us connect and
the three of us in conversation today, we're creative producers, and we're eager to share. And I think that is a curiosity in the design industry. It is a very giving industry.
Yeah.
And viva that. Let's have more.
Well, you guys definitely leave the curiosity of children I can, I see that all the time with the work that you do. So just for, again, the benefit of our audience, so check out the website. Architecture is Fun. I'm sure you find it absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us here.
So shall we talk about leads now? Marching On Together is our song. Normally I would start to lead, be the lead singer and get it all going, but probably people out there might think I'm bonkers. But and just other, just before we go, another kind of story, I guess, is Peter and I are both from a small town in Yorkshire. A very small town. It's got a castle, a few pubs, a school, and not much more. And it's called Knaresborough. And I think, how long have you been here, Peter, in Chicago? About 30 years?
I came here in 1985.
Right. I only arrived 3 years ago, so I'm the new boy. But, I got to know Peter, and just such an amazing story. I think it's 3 of us, isn't there, in Chicago? From Knaresborough?
At least 3 Knaresborians, yes. That I'm aware of.
Yeah. So, if you want to check out Knaresborough, it's spelt with a K, by the way, Knaresborough, and online. That's where we're from, and I think there's definitely a creative bent, shall I say, to the town. Lots of musicians have succeeded in life. Peter's an outstanding architect, of course, and that, just to finish off, Peter, congratulations, by the way, because next year you are the future president of the American Institute of Architecture. I don't know if you just want to say a few words about that, because I'm sure it means lots of hard work, etc.
Well, the AIA is 95,000 members, architect members here in the United States and around the world. And, we are advocates for architecture, for the greater good. And I'm fortunate that I will be the 97th president of the AIA, starting in December of 2020. So, greatly looking forward to that responsibility and being an ambassador for architects around the country and around the world.
That's great. And speaking on behalf of the town, I'll use this opportunity to congratulate you from all us Knaresboroughians, because what a fantastic honour it is, what a fantastic achievement for you to, take that position. And we can't wait to see what you do, in terms of inspiring further architects and designers.
Thank you.
All right, we'll better wrap up, because everybody knows I talk for England, which is a saying, as you say. Thank you so much for joining us. As I say, please check out architectureisfun.com. Have I got that right?
Yeah, perfect.
That makes a change. Do you have any social media out there we need to plug?
Lots.
At Fun Architect, people can get in touch with me and see my sketchbooks on Instagram or on Twitter.
Architecture is Fun on Instagram. Yeah.
And,
if you go to the website, you can link to everything.
And just one last thing. Peter is the narrator. He narrates a book, Iggy Peck, Architect. You need to check that out. I think that's another wonderful way you've engaged with young people. I really do. It's a fantastic book, by the way.
Very cool. Well, Andrea Beatty, who wrote that story, is a really great and imaginative author. And the illustrator of that book also happens to be from England. So
wow.
The synergy there.
There is a lot of creativity percolates up from the other side of the pond, as we call it.
I guess the teachers that tune into this would probably love to hear that. Would that be okay if we showed that on
Absolutely.
a link to that? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's inspiring. And, just real quick, and I'm talking too much again, but, we think furniture and the surroundings, your surroundings in your school, can inspire a new generation of designers, get people interested in design. So if your environments are interesting and multifunctional, not sterile, that's going to help create those future designers and architects and creative folks that we need for our world. Anyway, thanks again, Peter and Sharon Exley, and look forward to seeing you guys again real soon, hopefully for real, and not in this virtual strange world, but sure, it'll be great, and we'll see you soon.
Great. Thanks very much, and thanks for all the work you do on behalf of the industry.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Sharon. Lovely to see you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.